Hi guys, it's Jake. So I just thought up this idea that can not only be used in the movie that I'm about to pitch, but it could also be used in many other plots, many other movies. I'm not sure if this idea has already been invented yet in movies, and I apologize if it has. But pretty much the idea to explain this better, if you look at the Captain America movies, where they kind of mind manipulate Bucky, it's going to be like that, but rather than turning a person into a super soldier, they turn them into a walking advertisement. So, like, said person that gets this mind manipulation treatment from some evil corporation, they'll essentially be a walking advertisement, so they can like walk up door to door and advertise whatever the agency wants them to, or they could just go up to person on the streets and advertise them that way. So that was the idea, and now on to the actual movie pitch. It's essentially going to be a stoner comedy that about midway through is going to go dark, and the lead actor is going to be him and his best friend. They can be like in their early 20s. The first 40 minutes is, like I said, it's like a stoner comedy. It's kind of like they're just joking around, and what they essentially do throughout the film is they'll either get intoxicated on pot or they get intoxicated by drinking, and then they do this thing where they essentially record with audio and sometimes video their adventures that they do when they're intoxicated. So at the start of the film, they're just doing these things. Like sometimes they'll get intoxicated, then they'll go walk a forest somewhere, some random forest. Another event is they could just go to like a museum. They could but a routine thing that they usually do is they'll just get into a random person's vehicle, whether that be a truck or a van or anything. I know this sounds very dumb, but these characters, these guys, I literally just thought of this movie plot like 2 seconds ago, but that's why it's not that great. But essentially what happens is these guys are like these jokesters, and they couldn't care less about their life. They're just having fun, trying to enjoy it. And like I said, that's why they do these different adventures and get intoxicated while doing it or prior to doing it. And they usually do this routine where they get into someone's van and then they just randomly go on an adventure and then they surprise the person at the end when they get to their like home or they get to like their work, and they just laugh about it because they're somewhat of idiots. And then eventually it goes dark when it's like they see a truck. They get into the back of the truck. So there's a woman and a man driving the truck, and they don't, obviously they're strangers to the two lead actors. And so again, like they usually do, they get in to the back of the truck. This time they just have their audio, so they have like a little microphone audio that they could use, and they hop into the back of the truck of this random truck. They go in, the man and the woman go into like an apartment or somewhere else, and then so the two guys are in the back of the truck and they're hiding under like some sheet or like behind some boxes or something, and they're laughing and they're having a big old joke about it because that's what they usually do, and they're like I said, somewhat idiots. Eventually a young boy and a young girl get thrown into the back of the truck, and they're not laughing. They're actually like somewhat screaming. They're essentially being kidnapped from wherever they are. And obviously this is when it takes a dark turn, and the kids are no longer laughing, and then the man locks up the back of the truck so they can't escape. Right? It's not like they can just get up and walk out. So they lock up the back of the truck. It starts moving. They start driving, and the two guys that are in the back of the truck see, this young girl and this young. Well, they're not like super young. They're like 18, 19, around there, like kind of around the age of the two lead actors, but a little bit younger. And they're like tied up. They're they can't talk. They're kind of just like trying to scream. They're obviously terrified because they've just been kidnapped by two random individuals. So then they drive after like, you know, a good hour of driving. They eventually make it to this like vacant sort of like, I don't know if it should be a mansion or like some sort of facility or something. And this is where this mind manipulation treatment takes place, and that's essentially what these guys are doing. They just take random, like, you know, not like just likable individuals, young likable individuals, and then that's when they mind manipulate them to be walking advertisements. So when they pull up to this facility or this mansion, and they take the two hostages, so to speak, out of the back of the truck, and then put them in to the basement of the facility or wherever it is, to start mind manipulating them. Prior to this, one of the lead actors puts their microphone chip on one of the hostages, and they can't see the kids, right? They're just, you know, they're completely like they're blindfolded, and they you know, they can't scream or anything, and so they don't know that the chip is on them, but they put it on them. And then obviously when they get taken out the back of the truck, they get put into the place, and then they make a run for it, right? The two actors make a run for it, but they're in the middle of nowhere. They don't know where they are, obviously, because they were in the back of the truck for like an hour. You know, they kind of talk to each other, you know, we can't just leave them there, you know, what do we... So at this point, they make a run for it. They get to a safe place, and then they have the audio chip that's planted on one of the hostages, so they begin to listen. And that's when they find out, they figure out that these two individuals are awful, they're evil, and what they're up to is pretty much the next plot point, which is they're trying to advertise for a cult. And once they begin to try to contact and tell the police and law enforcement about their situation that happened, they get in trouble so much as being jokesters, you know, like I said, because they go on these little adventures, and they get, you know, obviously police called on them and stuff like that. They're not taken seriously. Then after a little bit of time, they eventually get in contact with a female officer that is kind of working on the case and kind of knows a little bit about the cult, and then she has her team, and then obviously they work with the two kids, and then eventually they're gonna attempt to bring down this cult and save these hostages from this home. And that's pretty much where I got to with the plot. Hope you guys enjoyed, and definitely check out my other videos. Later.